Alright, so we are instructed to use the quadratic formula and to leave an exact form, meaning that we do not use the calculator at the end. We first make sure quadratic function is set equal to 0, which it is, and identify our ABC. Our A is 3, our B is 4, and C is 2. Quadratic formula, rewrite it so that way you know if you can remember it. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a is equal to x. So I start applying it. Make sure you use parentheses because that way you don't make sign errors. Negative b, negative 4, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 4 squared, minus 4ac minus 4, always stays there, times your 3 times your c, which is 2. And don't forget about the 2a, it's a large fraction. Make sure it goes over everything in the numerator. 2 times a, 2 times 3. We set it equal to x. So we start simplifying from there. 4 squared becomes 16. Negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. And negative 12 times 2 is negative 24. 2 times 3 becomes 6. So I rewrite it. X equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 24 all over 6. Combine like terms. The 16 and the negative 24 becomes negative 8. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 all over 6. Now, if you can notice, we cannot take the square root of a negative number. So we must use the definition of imaginary numbers and rewrite this. X equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 8 times I now over 6. Now here's the directions part. It's that exact form, so I can't use a calculator for this part. I must start talking to myself and see what perfect squares go into 8. If you're struggling with factorization, write 8 to the side and start factoring it down. 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and those are the positive factors. Now, as you can tell, 4 is a perfect square, so I want to use 2 and 4. So I rewrite square root of 8 as 2 times 4. And I have x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 2 times 4, since it still equals 8, all over 6. I can take the square root of 4, so I rewrite the square root of 4 is 2. X equals negative 4 plus or minus this 2, and then whatever was left over, which is the square root 2 here, 2 square root 2 over 6. Last thing I need to do is to separate out my fractions to simplify. Oh, and I forgot about the I right there. X equals negative 4, 6 plus or minus 2 square root 2 I over 6. It's key that you separate out 2 times, the real and the imaginary part. And here's where a lot of students make a mistake, is in the simplifying at the last part. Negative 4 6 becomes negative 2/3. And plus or minus 2 6, this is the only thing you reduce, is 1/3. So your final solution is x equals negative 2/3 plus or minus, you can do 1 square root 2 or square root 2 times I over 3. And you're done.